Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charleston, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting episode for you guys that we definitely want you guys to stick around for. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, as y'all know, ESPN is the worldwide leader in sports. Certainly in the United States, they have some of the most notable sports media personalities out there. People like Kendrick Perkins, Jay Williams, JJ Redick was a contributor there as well. Chris Mad Dog Russo, and of course they have Stephen A. Smith, who I still believe, and I think many believe, and I think even he himself will say, is their flagship personality on the show, in that company. He's the face of ESPN, right? And I think in terms of analysts and commentators, he is the highest paid commentator. I think he has a $25 or $30 million contract currently running with ESPN, right? So he's the face of the network. However, there's been some kind of rumblings in the background about some of the financial challenges that ESPN is going through in terms of, for instance, them losing a considerable amount of the people that they have subscribed to the ESPN Plus, which has lost them in return hundreds of millions of dollars. And reports out there are basically saying that ESPN is going to be looking to downsize in the future, right, and cut back on some of their their marquee personalities, because these guys obviously absorb a lot of their payroll, right? When you're paying these guys millions of dollars and you kind of add it all up, it's a lot, right? And the word is that Disney is trying to really kind of streamline their expenses and kind of cut back, which brings me to an article that I came across today from frontofficesports.com, right? And it was talking essentially about these potential layoffs that are coming in the future. But what really surprised me is what Stephen A. Smith had to say in terms of his future with ESPN as a future employee. Before we get into that, this video is brought to you by sponsor Aura, who's also the official sponsor of the T-Wolves. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is today? It's identity theft. Imagine trying to log into your email only to see that your password has been changed. Then you start getting weird notifications from your bank and credit cards, only to find out that all of your personal and sensitive information has been totally compromised. If you think it can happen to you and your family, just know that in 2020, over 49 million Americans were victims to identity theft, costing them a combined $56 billion. That is why we are excited to partner with Aura, who's the sponsor of this video. Aura is the #1 identity theft and financial fraud protection. Aura monitors the dark web and alerts you if any of your passwords and accounts have been breached. And funny enough, after using Aura, I discovered some of my credentials were floating around in the dark web, and the app showed me exactly when and where the breach happened. In addition, Aura allows you to set spending alerts, and they'll notify you of any suspicious transactions. Aura is 4 times faster than any of its competitors in alerting you if someone is trying to open a credit card or obtain a loan using your name. And remember this, every 14 seconds, someone becomes a victim of identity fraud. Don't let it happen to you. Now click the link in the description and try Aura for free for 2 weeks and see if any of you or your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial at aura.com/dreamerspro. And when you try Aura by using the link in the description below, also know that you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So let me get into this article quickly and read what it has to say here. ESPN bracing for painful round of layoffs. Stephen A. Smith warns ESPN's layoffs are coming. Parent Disney slashing 7,000 jobs, $5.5 billion in cost. ESPN is bracing for painful layoffs in the coming weeks, sources tell Front Office Sports. As a part of a corporate restructuring, parent company Disney is slashing 7,000 jobs and $5.5 billion in costs. The layoffs could amount to 3% of Disney's global workforce. Stephen A. Smith alluded to the network's precarious situation on his No Mercy podcast. Have y'all been paying attention to the business landscape? Disney itself announced that over 7,000 employees are going to be let go, Smith said. ESPN is under the Disney umbrella. They're going to have cuts coming. Hell, for all I know, I might be one of them. Now, I doubt that, but it's possible. No one knows. If anybody knows what's up, it's Smith. With a $13 million plus annual salary, he's ESPN's second highest paid talent behind Troy Aikman at $18 million. The star of the top rated First Take has the ear of the most powerful executives in Bristol. ESPN's footprint has been reduced to less than 75 million U.S. homes from 100 million in 2011, and the network has suffered several layoffs over the last decade. Ravaged by the pandemic, ESPN's president, Jimmy Pitaro, cut 300 jobs and let 200 positions go unfilled in 2021. In 2017, former President John Skipper laid off roughly 100 anchors, reporters, and analysts, including to big names like Trent Dilfer, Danny Cannell, Jerome Batiste, Mark Stein, and Lynn Elmore. ESPN dropped 300 employees in 2015. I don't think it's as bad as 2017, but it might be bad, said one source. As part of Disney's restructuring, Chief Executive Officer Bob Iger has made ESPN one of the 3 global pillars, along with entertainment, parks, and experiences. I got a lot of thoughts on this particular show here, but I'll try to keep them concise for you guys here. First of all, what we're hearing in this report is nothing new when it comes to corporate America, or the corporate world, to be exact. As y'all know, banks have been collapsing left and right, and the economy is a bit unstable at the moment. And there are a lot of people keeping a close eye on it, and there are a lot of platforms that cover that a lot closely that I'm sure a lot of you guys are subscribed to. So I'm sure a good amount of you guys are following what's happening out there. In the case of ESPN, and particularly Stephen A. Smith, I don't know Stephen A. Smith from anywhere. Okay, I don't know him. I don't know any of his personal dealings. But as someone looking at this from the outside in, I think is a cautionary tale to those of us who are in this space and those of us who are looking to get in this space. What am I talking about? If you are in a unique position where you can build an audience in a platform of 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, a million, 2 million subscribers on YouTube, for example, or 1 million monthly readers on your website, you have to think of ways to diversify and expand. You can at least expand laterally within your niche. Why? Because no one puts all their eggs in one basket when you're employed by someone. Now, some people will say, no. You put all of your eggs in one basket. I would advise against that. I think that once you have one basket that is filled, it's time to start thinking of another basket. It's time to start, and that basket doesn't need to be 100% full. You need to start thinking of another. Why? Because things happen. Things happen, and you don't want to be blindsided. Give you guys a perfect example. During the global pandemic, there were a lot of people that were restaurateurs, people that had restaurants. They were affected. You had to close down your restaurant business. But those people also had other type of businesses that maybe were into logistics, transporting things, whatever, maybe selling things online, delivering food, and all of these different things to people's homes. Those guys still were managed. They were able to stay alive. When a global pandemic and something like that occurs, no one really sees it coming. Yeah, some people can speculate, but when it happens, usually most people are caught off guard. But when you have other flows coming in, you can kind of protect yourself. So if you have an audience, again, no matter the size of the audience, if it's 50, 20, 100, 2 million, whatever, you want to think about ways of diversifying. And you're seeing some of these guys do that. You see Shannon Sharp doing it with Club Shay Shay. But really, the guys that really did it at a high level, in my personal opinion, I think there are a few of them. There are a few examples. Pat McAfee is one of them. Obviously, he's huge. Another one is Bill Simmons of The Ringer. He's another one. Another one is Clay Travis. Maybe people like him over for his political views, whatever. That's not the point. I'm talking about the way he was able to work at ESPN, now go on and create his own thing. I think he sold his company Outkick for $100 million. Right? $100 million. What's the multiple on that? Working at ESPN, if they're paying you 5 years, it takes you 20 years to make that money. 20 years to make that money. So to me, I think it's a cautionary tale that if you're doing something, start to think of ways you can diversify your audience, because you really never know what's going to happen. You really never know. Now, Stephen A. Smith is in a unique position where if you're earning $13+ million a year, and that's just off his salary, no one knows what else he earns money from. A person like that will be fine because they're earning so much money. So they'll be able to, I'm sure people like that save money, so they'll be able to weather the storm no matter what. right? But for the normal Joe out there, whatever, looking to get into this thing, at a certain point, yes, you want to double down. But once you get to a certain point where things are kind of predictive in terms of maybe, predictable, in terms of revenue, then you can start looking at other ways, because you don't want to be caught out there. You don't want to be caught out there. So to me, I think it's a cautionary tale. Some people say only go in on one particular thing. I disagree with that. Because of the volatility in the world that we're living in right now. You want to make sure you're doing multiple things. And if one person is telling you do one thing, I guarantee you that person is not investing in one thing. Nobody puts everything in one thing, because there's so many horror stories when people go 100% all in on one thing. I saw the Bernie Madoff Netflix series. It was incredible. Some people were wiped out totally. So these are my thoughts and opinions. I thought it was a pretty interesting lesson that we can all share here, and something we can learn from one another. So anyway, what I want to know from you guys is simply, what do you think about this story? Number one. Number two, do you think Stephen A. Smith stays? I think he does. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you on the next show.